So, I got a little triggered today on Twitter when I saw this post by Paul Krugman, of all people. So, it was actually part of an AOC thread where she was talking about how she signed up through marketplace.gov and or healthcare.gov rather, and had 66 options because of whatever her circumstances were, and Krugman chimes in with this. He says, "Okay, true story. When I moved from Princeton, I could get health insurance either from the NYT, New York Times, or from CUNY, which is City University of New York, I believe. Yes, I've been very privileged. Yeah, kudos on your virtue signaling there. NYT offered one option, CUNY 19 different plans." And then we go down here. "I'm fairly numerate and even write about healthcare, but I couldn't figure out the difference between the CU and NY plans. So I asked HR if they could summarize the differences. They said no. In the end, I went with NYT, which is now essentially Medicare Advantage since I'm 66, but looks the same to me as before. And the reason I went that way was the Times offered me a gratifying lack of choice." So that's a very interesting turn of phrase, and I feel a connection with Bob Murphy now because he's been writing about Krugman's slipperiness for years, and so in terms of health insurance, just to establish my bona fides, I actually was a licensed health insurance agent in the state of Florida for a couple of years. I was doing Obamacare signups for people and tax clients and things like that, and I ended up surrendering the license because it was just a waste of time, basically. But what is the implication of what he's saying here? So, he's saying that, he had these 20 different choices. He went with the one that was simplest to him because it was a gratifying lack of choice. So, he's not stating, but he is implying that having a lack of choice is actually a good thing. And, it's just drives me insane because he's, this is kind of the we know better than you kind of paternalism that big government types have, and that you are too stupid to understand your own life and what's best for you. And then that's all on the back end of why are we in this crazy system in the first place? Health insurance is pretty much the only insurance that you get through work. I mean, yeah, sometimes you'll have like a supplemental accidental death and disability thing, but pretty much health insurance is the main thing. And why is that tied to your job at all? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Your car insurance isn't tied to your job, and your house insurance isn't tied to your job. So it actually goes all the way back to World War II, when again another government intervention was they froze wages during World War II for rationing. Essentially, they were rationing money, and as a way to entice people to work, they started, companies started offering, more and more benefits as part of the compensation package. And on the company side, if you are paying a, for health insurance, it's actually a deduction against your gross income. So, but on your personal side, it really isn't. So it gets a little bit complicated. So, out-of-pocket health insurance costs do go into your medical expenses on your Schedule A if you're an individual taxpayer. But then that plus your other medical expenses has to add up to greater than 7.5% of your income before it starts to count at all. And then the portion over 7.5% of your income goes into your itemized deductions, which under the new rules especially is, very few people are actually able to claim. So in 99% of cases, your out-of-pocket health insurance costs do you zero good on your taxes. So there's an incentive there for companies to offer health insurance and for individuals to not pay for health insurance. And then we get into the malincentives that creates, because now the user of the health services and health goods is no longer paying for those things directly. So the whole free market thing gets, out of whack, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and finally we end up with, Obamacare basically, and that's, a hop, skip, and a jump, and then we have these guys laying the groundwork, saying that really it would be better if we had government paid healthcare, and you also have to watch the change in language, because what they're talking about is prepaid or paid by the government health care and not health insurance. So those are two different things. So, insurance of any kind is when you are paying another party to absorb risk. So back in 2011, something like that, I was 30, 31, married, no kids, and my wife and I had what's called a catastrophic health insurance plan. So we had to deal with the insurance company. We said we're willing to pay up to 12 grand or something like that a year, and after 12 grand, then you're on the hook. And we are 31 years old. Our health is good, and the chances of that happening are very low. So as a result, our insurance cost was very low, but it was actual insurance. I think we were paying like $200 a month, something like that, for both of us, so 100 each. And fast forward, to today. So now I've got wife, same wife, two kids, and we are paying, I think, $1,600 a month. And now we have all the copay stuff. So really, what we're doing is along with the entire pool in the insurance company's set of people, is we are just aggregating and proportionalizing our actual healthcare expenses. And since our health insurance, our health costs are low, kids go to the doctors for checkups and wellness checks and all that kind of stuff, but just basic doctor's visits. Never been to the hospital, no surgeries, no anything like that, no prescription drugs. So on average, we are losing because under that kind of system, and paying 8 times more than I was paying the other before, because people like me are subsidizing the people who are getting or using a great deal more health services. So that was my triggering for the morning. And then you have all the people who are saying this, like, well, it'd be better to have a UK system or a Canadian system, or most other first world countries have a government paid and or provided health system. And if you believe in freedom, that's completely antithetical. The fact that this one service is somehow more special than everything else, and it's just craziness. So what would be better is to remove all of this and let doctors, and drug companies and health service place, the doc in a box kind of places, let them compete for your health dollars, and use actual insurance to offset those large bills. If you get hit by a truck, if you develop cancer unexpectedly, all those kinds of things. I think costs would come way down, a fraction. If you look at places like I can't remember the name, but there's a place, I think it's in Kansas City, that started listing actual prices on the website. They don't take insurance. It's all cash. It's a surgery center. It's like, you need an arthroscopic knee replacement, $4,000. And, that same kind of thing over in a traditional health healthcare and health insurance system, is multiples of that. It's not just a percentage, a small percentage. It's like 3, 5, 8 times that. So free market medicine can and does work. And you go to Central America or South America, and you get dental implants done, and instead of paying $10,000 a tooth like you do here in the U.S., I've had relatives and clients pay that amount easily. It's a couple hundred. It's maybe $1,000 a tooth. So it's like a 10 to 20 times difference. Same thing with other kinds of procedures. With like MRI scans and prescription drugs and all those kinds of things. Drugs get us into a whole other layer of absurdity, but but it follows the same thing. Mises made the point that intervention begets intervention, and we are at the end of a very long line of that when it comes to health related services. So anyway, that's my rant for the morning, and we'll see you on Talking Point.